Today on Mid-Missouri Art News, artists Brandi Rackers and Lainie Strange will be sharing their art world and what's happening in that art world with us. Welcome to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News, supported by many art enthusiasts around the country, Mid-Missouri, and even overseas, thanks to our YouTube channels. Coming to you from the capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri, I'm your host, Rick Jey, and like I say, two special guests today, Brandi Rackers and Lainie Strange from the Jefferson City area. Please join me first, if you will, as I turn first welcoming artist and spokesperson for the Jefferson City Art Club, Brandi Rackers. Welcome, Ms. Rackers, to Mid-Missouri Art News.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Rick.
Thank you. Brandi, if I may call you by your first name, please tell us a little bit about what makes up your world known as Brandi Rackers. I know it's really right now an inspirational point for you and family, so please tell us a little bit about Brandi, if you would.
All right, I will. As you said, I'm from Jefferson City. I've loved art as long as I can remember, going way back to my childhood when my mom would let me fill pages and pages of watercolor. But now, growing up, I have become an art educator. I went to school at Missouri State to get my undergraduate in art education, and I'm going to be beginning my 9th year of teaching at Battle High School this coming year.
Excellent.
My husband and I, Rick Rackers and I, we were in St. Louis for about 8 years, and then had my daughter, Genevieve, and decided we needed to be a little bit closer to family. So we came back to Jeff City.
Excellent.
It was a really tough decision to move back because we had a lot of friends and love the environment up there, but it's been a really great choice. Since moving back, we have bought some property in Jeff City and redone an old house. We have 10 chickens now, 2 cats and a dog.
I see.
My daughter is 3.5 now, and we're expecting our second in October.
Excellent,
Yep.
excellent. And do you have any shout outs that you'd like to give today while you're on the show?
Oh, family has been huge. That's what made it so easy to come back to Jeff City. So my grandparents, my mom and dad, super supportive of my artwork, my in-laws, lots of cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone is always so supportive of what I do. And I'm really blessed to have them.
Excellent. And they're blessed with your artwork. I believe it's awesome.
Thank you.
I've reviewed it and so excited about having you here with us today. So thanks for sharing your personal with us. Well, can you tell us for everyone how you became first inspired to become an artist and what now inspires you to continue on? It sounds like you've got a lot of inspiration to look forward to, a teacher, instructor now at the Battle High School.
Like I said, art has always been a passion of mine. I love getting those art kits from my grandparents or from my aunts that have a little bit of everything in them, and I just love to explore. And so I knew art was going to be my career, and then education is something that just kind of found me. I've always been drawn to sharing my passion with other people, and being an art teacher makes that very easy for me to do. I got my master's while teaching full-time up in St. Louis at Lindenwood University, and it completely changed my outlook on making art. It used to be a very technical challenge, which it still obviously is, but the conceptual aspect came into my art making, and I became more connected and grounded through my work.
Yes.
And that's really helped to motivate me as a future artist. You know, as the technical stuff becomes a little bit more easier, the conceptual stuff is never easy.
Exactly.
And the process of making art has become so much more rewarding, knowing that I'm doing it as a way for me to not only be connected to my environment, myself and my viewers, but to also just explore the process. The product of my artwork is really second best to the process.
I think you've really covered it well. So many elements that we all look
Yep.
for, and two, you've really described to us really well what really completes you
Yes.
as an artist. And you can share that with your students or our viewers for that matter,
Yep.
that this is where it's all at within each of us, from our hearts, and what really kind of paints our own picture or what have you, landscape of
Exactly.
Brandi Rackers or Rick Jey. So
That's right.
excellent answer. Was there one person would you like to name one person that really inspired you?
I don't think I can say one person, but I can narrow it down to my mom. Her name is Diane, and my dad, his name is Kenny. My mom, she doesn't find herself a creative person, but she's creative in her own ways, and she never prevented me from making a mess of her house. And my dad, he's a handyman, very good at problem solving, and when I grew up, he did a lot of woodworking projects, and he could fix anything, and I think I saw the reward of being able to do something for yourself.
Oh, excellent.
And then since high school, my husband is my high school sweetheart. He has always been a huge motivator of my artwork and what I do, and he really drives me to, when life gets busy with kids and a job and this little farm we have going, still giving me the time and the space and the support to keep going and making my own artwork.
Excellent. Sound like you have a great foundation and a great
Yes.
backbone now and support all around. So thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Well, can you share with us briefly your favorite mediums and subject matter when completing a piece? And please describe for our viewers some of your favorite pieces, if you would.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I love watercolors. I really enjoy acrylics, just for a larger scale. And then clay has been a passion of mine since middle school. I took a class with an aunt when I was in middle school, and there's just something about playing in the dirt that's always fun. You can never outgrow that. But I learned, once again, through my master's program, that art doesn't have to always be technically beautiful. So I discovered staining my clay through food products, different forms of stains, because they actually soak into the clay and become more natural in that essence. And then that kind of led into some watercolor experiments. And then with watercolor, I love that there's so many techniques you can add to it. You know, you can add the vinegar, you can add the salt, you can do the wet on wet where you apply the color to the paper and it blossoms and it moves, and there's a lot of control that I don't have whenever I experiment that way. So I really like to start a project with something that's a little bit less controlled, and then I find myself coming back to it, trying to take that control back, and I tie in a lot of my experiences with nature or things that inspire me, from textures to colors to patterns, and then I'll bring that back into my own version, connecting me to my piece and my surroundings and my feelings. And through this, I understand I'm not always going to reach everybody because my work becomes a little bit more abstracted. But as I said before, it's not so much about the product, it's more about this process. And it becomes very therapeutic for me.
Oh, great. Yes.
Art is a challenge. Continually.
If you could describe some of those favorite pieces in a little amount of time we have, we'll make sure they're up on the timeline so people can view those.
Sounds great.
If you would.
One of my go-to clay pieces is this Opposing Forces, where I took 2 bowls that I had thrown on the pottery wheel and I flipped them over. I decided to alter them, cut into them, swirl into them, draw in these patterns and these textures and these shapes that I drew from natural references, and I stained those pieces with mason stains instead of the food. I do think I put some molasses on there at the end of it to kind of give it a gloss, but that was a little bit backwards for my watercolor because the drawing came first. My connection came first and the staining came second. But this Opposing Forces really shows this balance I'm continually seeking in my life. Being a mother, being a wife, being an art teacher, being an artist. Nature is a really great mentor for how we can apply moderation and how we can seek this balance and we can have this side and this side at the same time. So that piece is something that I think I'll be drawn to for a long time.
Super.
And then Momentum is actually a newer watercolor that I've done. And I started by wetting my paper, my watercolor paper, and I took purple onions, which I always have in the kitchen. Love to cook with purple onions.
Yes.
So I took the pieces and I pressed them down into the paper and let them sit for a couple of days. And then I pulled it off, and that was my map. That was the start. And then I got to explore this map through the repetition of the lines that I used and the watercolor, and it just all came together as this journey that I can really relate to, but it's one of those things I hope my viewer relates to too, even if it's not in the same way that I do.
Oh, I see. And you have a third you'd like to
I
speak
do,
of?
yes. I didn't know if I had time. Smokes and Stains is an older piece back from whenever I was really experimenting with using food instead of paint. And this one's done entirely with food. I had some rotten blackberries in the fridge, so I took them and I smashed them into my paper. And they, of course, shot all over the canvas.
Sure.
And then I tied in some tea and some molasses and just all kinds of stuff in my pantry. And I painted with those and moved them around. And then I got excited by the wet paper and was wondering what would happen if I chose to burn it with a lighter. So I took the back of my paper with this lighter, and the smoke just kind of billows up, and the values that come through in that, I didn't have as much control, but the paper knew what it was doing in some way.
Excellent. Now, some of you've been able, time-wise, to talk about 3 of your favorites. We'll put some more of those on the timeline that you shared with me. But I'd like to now turn, do you have any venues at this time that you would like to tell our viewers where they may see your work firsthand?
Sure. Currently right now at the DMV in Jefferson City, I have several works of art up. Some of them are wall-hanging relief clay pieces, which I was a little bit nervous to hang on the walls, but they turned out pretty great. And then watercolors and a couple of acrylics. And that'll be up until August 7th. I do like to also show at Capitol Arts frequently. I don't currently have any works up, but viewers can go there frequently and find some of my works.
Excellent. Yes, now you're the featured artist for the period of June 27th and currently through August 7th. So at the DMV. As a spokesperson for the Jefferson City Art Club, do you have any news of what's scheduled in the fall, the startup, as we call it, period for the art club?
I do. So after the recent tornado in Jefferson City, our third Monday meetings of the month have changed from the church that we used to be at to the community room at the Hawthorne Bank. That's over off of Amazonian Drive. And as I said, the third Monday of the month, and it's at 5:30. We do have a Jefferson City Art Club Adults Fine Art Exhibition, and that is going to be March 27th through April 30th of next spring.
Next spring.
Yep. And then there's always the Ruth Hogan Art Show, which is featured around the old Jefferson City superintendent, or art supervisor,
yes.
Ruth Hogan. And that will be March 17th. And then there is the Jeff City Art Club Professional Artist Exhibition. That happens every other year. So it looks like the next time that will be happening will be October 2nd of 2020. But most importantly, the Fall Fling is coming up. And that's that's November 9th, or November 8th of 2019. And that's always a really good time. I went for my first time last year because I just joined. And we had hors d'oeuvres and there were drinks there. We also did a little gift exchange, which was super fun. There was live music and just a lot of good socializing. And it provided us artists an opportunity to bring our work and do a share.
There are door prizes that there's no charge.
No charge,
it's all the artists from mid-Missouri or wherever they would like to come in from. No charge. It starts about 7, I believe it is.
Yep.
And there are door prizes. If you would like to exchange a gift, that would always be welcome too, if you have a favorite artist of the club. So great. We look forward to that, especially that fling. That's always a good time.
It was a great time.
Well, Brandi, can you share with us any contact information, such as an email, your website possibly, or how you'd like to be contacted if someone does enjoy your art or like to see where you're going to be, what next venue, or maybe even some work that they would like to have finished by you.
That would be great. My email is findingplaceartworks@gmail.com. I'm also on social media. I feel like that's the easiest. And then, so Facebook is Finding Place Artworks. And then on Instagram, it's also Finding Place Artworks.
Yes.
So those would probably be the best 3 spots to reach out and see what's going on in my life.
Excellent. Well, Miss Brandi, Miss Rackers, on behalf of JCTV, Missouri Art News, I want to thank you for sharing here at JCTV. And it's been a pleasure to learn more. And we look forward to seeing more of your work, your awesome artwork. Do you have any closing statements for us?
Once again, just thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to being part of Jeff City community more and more as I continue to grow as an artist. So.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish you the best at the new teaching position.
Thank you.
And we'll be seeing you at the meetings, I'm hoping, and also of the little one.
Yeah, thank you. I'll need it.
Yes, thank you. After the break, we meet artist Lainie Strange, who has some beautiful work that you should like to share. And I'll be proud to share those with you too. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're really not that talented.
You're not attractive.
Too fat.
You're too short.
Too old. Why don't you just give up?
Give up.
Give up.
Just give up.
Welcome back to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News. I'd like to now turn to artist and spokesperson for the Jefferson City Art Club, Lainie Strange. I'd like to welcome her to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News. I've been looking forward to this occasion for quite a while. So welcome to Mid-Missouri Art News, Miss Lainie.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Lainie, if I may call you by your first name.
Yes.
Please tell us, if you would, a little bit about what makes up the world of Lainie Strange.
All right. Well, let's see. I have lived in Jefferson City for about, I'm going to say, it's been about 30 plus years. We moved from a little town called Clinton, Missouri, and then my family originally came from Kansas City. So, but I've lived here longer than anywhere else. So this is definitely my home. And I am married for 15 years. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old stepson. And I went to University of Missouri Columbia for my Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Excellent.
And that's kind of where I started off, kind of focusing there on graphic design and drawing. Those are kind of my emphasis areas when I went there. And anyway, have kind of stayed around here. I work for the state doing web development work.
I see.
And I've been there for over 20 years and have really kind of enjoyed that. That's kind of, when I first started, and I continue, I've been able to kind of interject some artistic ability into that as well, because I've been able to do web design work and stuff like that over the years. So I've been able to, work that in some way through my different jobs.
So that's got to make the job a little bit more interesting, and I look forward to reporting. That's a great tenure you have going with the state. That's excellent. Is there one person by name you'd like to say hi to, do a shout out? Or? Well,
let's see. My family definitely, they're very supportive of my artwork, and finally, better late than never, I finally have more of a little art studio corner set up in my house. I always seem to not have this real formal dedicated area, so they've been very nice. I just kind of go off in my little hole sometimes and do my work.
Excellent.
And they know where I'm going to be.
They've learned to
but I'm so excited to have my own dedicated space. It's really
to give mom her space.
Exactly. The little, I guess it's an indoor she shed, but it's it works out pretty well.
Still working out.
and really enjoy my art club member friends, and I'm communicating with them a lot. I recently decided to participate in the juried registration for Best of Missouri Hands. Long overdue, but
Yes.
I was able to lean on a lot of the art club members and get some feedback on what I was turning in,
Oh,
so it was
great.
kind of nice.
Well, Lainie, can you tell us, like everyone looks at us, well, how did that person become inspired? We talk about the DNA, may go back, but at some point, what really was your button that was pushed that inspired you to
Well, I think
become an artist?
DNA definitely plays into it initially, simply because I have artistic family on both sides of my family.
Oh, I see.
My grandfather was an art editor for the Kansas City Star
Super.
his whole life, and he painted all his life. So I was around that constantly,
Sure.
watching him paint and having that influence. And then as I was growing up, I started pencil drawings and drawing things that I liked. Like growing up, we'd go to Colorado trips, and I started drawing horses. And then I would make little illustrated books. And then Snoopy, which to this day I still enjoy. That's one of my collector things. I would draw Snoopy, and then I'd pair it with make little illustrated stapled books and
Excellent.
collect them
Excellent.
and give them to people and stuff. And that's kind of how I started, and it just went all the way up. I took every art class I could in high school, and then during college I focused on like the drawing and the painting, and then I kind of moved over to the commercial art area,
I
graphic
see.
design,
Ah.
and then kind of transitioned over into web design when the internet took off.
Oh, I see.
And but then always, what was great about college was that it gave me such an opportunity to try all the media. It just was like an eye-opening experience. I could
see.
do throwing pots, and I did screen printing and painting, and develop my drawing and all of that stuff.
And
So and I had some great professors in college that
excellent.
inspired me to go certain directions. And
Great. So
really
your
liked it.
high school days was in Clinton?
Actually, we moved here when I was about 12 or 13 in middle school. So I went to high school here locally, and just took, every single art class that I could, and just played and dabbled around in different things. So
Well, I viewed your artwork, and we'll share it online here on the timeline.
wonderful.
I think some of the pieces are just awesome. I enjoy them every day as we communicate on some social media.
Yeah.
Please share with us your favorite medium and subject matter, if you would, when completing a piece of work. Describe it, if you can, also for the viewers, some of the favorite pieces that you now like to look back on, or that
Okay.
you're involved with now.
I can do that. Growing up, it was drawing, and then as I went through college, I dabbled in a lot of media. But as I graduated from college, I really started liking colored pencil a lot. It's a rather slow-working media, potentially. So in the big picture, I didn't create a lot of artwork, but it's one that I still go back to now even. But I've done watercolor pencils, and colored pencil are probably my favorite media. And Missouri nature and landscape, and I kind of have picked out different really neat places across Missouri. So I've got a lot of Missouri landscape type of stuff. I love iris. I have a lot of iris paintings and drawings and things like that. But more recently I've done like a lot of mills across Missouri, different things like that. And even recently I joined a Facebook group called Missouri Nature Lovers, and there's a ton of Missouri photographers on there. They've been fabulous about messaging them offline and getting permission to use some of their photos for references, and they've been more than happy to. And it's kind of like a feather in their cap when you're using their
Yes.
photos for that, and then we kind of end up following each other and different things like that. So it's been kind of a neat camaraderie even through, nature photographers and things like that when you're using some of their work for reference photos. So those are my favorites.
Spoken nature again. We look forward to have you be a part of the Run Center show next spring.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done that one yet.
Oh, super.
So,
look forward to that.
all right. So
Now,
some of my pieces.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to start with my Greer Spring, and that's actually one that I just did earlier this year.
I see.
And that is one of them that I used a reference photo from a photographer gentleman named Gary Adams Jr., which I give him, I told him whenever I would post it, I would give him photo credit, and he was all excited about it. Great photographer.
Super.
And this is this spring is in South Central Missouri, and it's just really beautiful because the springs just generate that bright aqua blue water,
Yes.
that really clean, clear water, and it really kind of permeates in the picture, and it's kind of what drew me to it. And it had a lot of shadows, and then it had some lights in it, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a colored pencil.
It's an excellent piece. I have to. Colors are great. That's
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thanks. More recently, I started also painting like different butterflies. And actually, growing up, there was a time maybe 20 years ago I used to paint butterflies. I was in entomology. I was in an entomology course in 4-H that my dad taught, and I think that's kind of where just that interest in insects and bugs and beautiful butterflies and things like that. So I did a little series of butterflies earlier this year, and one of them.
Oh, I've been enjoying those on Instagram. So,
Thank you.
if you want to give our viewers your Instagram to view
Yep.
it.
And actually, I can kind of pop in there. Probably my easiest one would be to search for Lainie Strange Artist on Facebook. And Lainie Strange, and then I've got all my other social media links on there. So,
Excellent.
so I've got Instagram. I started in Etsy. I'm kind of exploring Etsy right now, and started a shop there earlier this year, and kind of dabbling in that to kind of see what kind of interesting things I can make through my art and sell. And but anyway, that would be the way that you could get hold of me there. And I'm also enjoying. I've been posting a lot more things on Instagram
Yes,
too that
I
I've been
enjoy
enjoying
them.
as I started the whole kind of work in progress. I started posting things so you could see the progression of paintings that I'm working on, and the Greer Spring one happens to be, I'm doing like a season series, and I did another painting that's a fall one. That one happens to be a spring one, and then I'm hoping this year to do the 2 other seasons and kind of make it a little collection. So.
And I appreciate your input on some of my paintings that I show as they become develop into a final.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed that Instagram.
I've enjoyed that.
Can I ask, as we run close on time, any venues at this time where people can actually see those firsthand? I believe I viewed an one of your pieces at the Capitol Arts Gallery on Missouri Boulevard.
Yes, I have one in there right now. The Life's a Beach exhibit is going on through August 6th. And I have a colored pencil in there, and it is from Tybee Island, Georgia. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but it is a beautiful little, quaint, not overly, touristy, neat little place that we went. We went there about 9 years ago, and I get up in the mornings and take really neat sunrise pictures, and it's from one of the pictures that I use that as a reference photo for one of them. It's a neat little calm. But anyway, I'm in the Life's a Beach exhibit, and I'm also planning on putting some pieces in for they're going to have a Give the Gift of Art show later this year, right around Christmas, and that starts November 1st. I put some painted acrylic ornaments in last year, and they did pretty well. I made maybe eight or 10 of them, and most of them sold. And Leanne puts up a nice little Christmas tree in there, and I remember there being plenty of room on the tree, so I'll have to just make some more ornaments and see where that takes me. So it's
Well,
fun.
Lainie, you've been a member of the Jefferson City Art Club for a number of years, and today you're a featured artist for the period of August 8th through September 19th, following Brandi Rackers, who we just visited with. Your art will also be featured through that period of time at the DMV in Jefferson
Looking forward
City.
to that.
As a spokesperson for the Jefferson City Art Club, do you have any news or what is scheduled beginning September that was not covered, or you'd like to highlight?
Well, Brandi pretty much covered everything. We've got our, we adjourn for the summer and we start back up in September. So our committee is feverishly working on our speaker programs.
A great organization since 1903.
Right.
Well, do you have an email address, contact information?
I do.
That you'd like to share?
So I have like an email address. I have Lainie, LAINIE.strange@gmail.com, and then I have a Facebook artist page. And if you search for Lainie Strange Artist, you'll find it. And then I've got my other social media contacts on that page. So that's probably the easiest way to find all of them.
Well, Miss Strange, or Lainie, again, if I may call you Lainie, on behalf of the Jefferson City Art Club and representing today and JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News, I want to thank you for sharing so much with us here at JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News. Do you have any closing statements or?
I am really enjoying this year. I've really started expanding my art as my daughter gets older, and I seem to kind of finally get some more time freed up. I've really been focusing a little bit more on my art, which is my passion, and it really is kind of fills your soul and makes you feel good, and it's really has a lot of positive outcomes that I'm focusing a little bit more on my art this year, and I hope to continue to do that. So.
Well, you seem so inspirational, so thank you again for being my guest, and
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you in Mid-Missouri art communities, what have you. So thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, JCTV producer Gloria Enlow, for working with us here. And thank you, our viewers, for always watching. That's worldwide now, fortunately for YouTube. So look for more Mid-Missouri Art News right here at JCTV and YouTube. I'm Rick Jey, your host, saying see you next time.